Well, hello guys. How are you? I see Dakota's already in chat. Hi Radical. How are you? How are you guys? How are you doing? But we're gonna have a little bit of a random stream here, guys. Okay. Wanted a little bit of a kind of a just a cool down stream. I've been throwing a lot of a Song of Ice and Fire stuff at you guys. So I'll have a Q&A open for you guys. Okay. So I'll let you guys, if you want to ask some questions to talk about while we're doing some stuff. We're also going to be doing random tier lists in this stream because I'm just feeling it. I just every once in a while I like doing a nice tier list stream. Now this one, it's not even a Song of Ice and Fire related. I'm not even doing a tier list that's a Song of Ice and Fire related. But but Adam, I'll kind of show you. So as we're, you guys got questions while we're going through, we're also going to be doing a little bit of a MCU tier list. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm a little excited. See, Dakota caught on. He saw that the thumbnail, or not the thumbnail, but the opening music was the Avengers. He knew. I did a little bit of foreshadowing. W for having Theon in thumbnail, one of my favorites. Yes, he's kind of the GOAT. DC has better comics. Marvel has better movies. DC has better animated stuff. I haven't watched a lot of the animated stuff in terms of like just overall for either Marvel or DC, so I couldn't attest to that. Marvel definitely has better movies than DC. DC basically has Batman in terms of movies, and that's about it. DC has better comics. Not super into the comics, so I couldn't tell you, but I don't know. What events do you think they should skip in House of Dragon Season 3 and 4? Should they skip the Storming of the Dragon Pit? They can't skip that. That's fundamental to the story, so I don't know why they would skip that. But I think they have to skip a lot of battles. A lot of battles they'll condense into, they'll just condense a lot of events, more or less. I think the triarchy plot in general, I think they'll kind of condense it. I think there'll be a lot of condensing. Also, chat box not on. Let me turn that on real quick. So hopefully that starts working. In the biz, we call it foreshadowing. Yeah, I gave you more foreshadowing than House of the Dragon did. But yeah, I don't think we can skip that. Although I'm hyped for the Supergirl movie because of Millie Alcock. That's right. I could see them merging Lakeshore and Butcher's Ball. Yeah, I think they're going to merge a lot of stuff like that. What are some of your early predictions for Season 3 with the changes they made? So, they have to start out with the Battle of the Gullet, but I think they're going to change a lot of the events that surround the battle. Again, we have this whole idea. Oh, boy, I just looked at chat. What the hell is going on with chat? Hold on. Let me get back to that. Why is it rotate? What the heck? Let's go into a transform real quick. Just technical difficulty. Don't worry about it. All right, so let's rotate. And why is it all... Man, I swear, dude. Sometimes things just have to go wrong on streams. It's fine. That's just what has to happen. Now it won't let me go into transform. Okay. So what's going on in here? Why is this being stretched? It looks like it's being stretched. Also upside down. Oh my god, dude. You guys, I swear. HBO doesn't like my streams. I'm telling you. If we ever have a problem, we blame it on HBO. Okay. Still doesn't, look the best. We might have to just say screw chat. I think we're going to just say screw. It doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right on the screen. I don't know. But, Season 1 feels like a completely different show from Season 2. I agree. 100%. Transformers character tier list? I wouldn't even know how to do that. I've only watched, I think, the first 3. Nah, definitely not professional around here, Dakota. I've been trying to get better at thumbnails. That's about the only professionalism we got here. Do you think the show will be worse next season with HBO making a bunch of cuts and trimming down on episodes? I think it has to be better than Season 2 because there's going to be just more stuff going on in that season. So I'd assume Season 3 will probably be better than Season 2, but... Did you rank the Game of Thrones seasons in a future stream? Also, HBO is budget cutting your stream? Yes, that is correct. But yeah, I could definitely do a Game of Thrones season 1. I might even do that in this stream because it's not that long. There's not a lot to rate. But let's start on this tier list. Okay, so I try to get them in order. Some of this stuff in phase 4 is kind of out of order. It's just there. But let's go through the tiers. I get a lot of questions sometimes after streams and what S means and stuff. So S is your top quality movies, top quality show. It's just it's the best of the best. A is like above average, pretty good, but not the best. B is kind of your average movie. And then C, below average. D, it's basically unwatchable, or you only watch it once and you never watch it again type of stuff. Iron Man 1. This is the foundation of Marvel, more or less. I think of the 3 Iron Man movies, this is by far the best in terms of quality. The problem that I think Marvel had was they kind of repeated the villain of Iron Man 1 multiple times, it feels like, in the entirety of MCU. I'm not talking about Phase 4, I'm talking about just throughout. And so that worked in this film because it was the first type of, businessman kind of character that's against Tony Stark and is kind of jealous of him and all that stuff. So I think Robert Downey Jr., fantastic performance of Iron Man or Tony Stark. This is a great movie. I'd put it A. I don't think it's S tier. Like, I think some people they go overboard and put it in S. I don't think it's an S tier movie. I think it's like A tier movie. I think it's pretty good start. But yeah. The Incredible Hulk. This is probably the most forgettable movie, I think, of the first 3 phases of Marvel. I don't even know. I don't think this is I don't even know, because it feels so disconnected from Marvel because they change actors, and then even the tone of Hulk isn't really the same either. I'm gonna put it in C because I think there are some things that are redeeming about it. I think the fight at the end with the Hulk and Abomination's pretty cool. I think there's some interesting aspects that go into the actual character of Bruce Banner in the movie. But it hasn't aged well. It's not the best looking movie compared to something like Iron Man, which came out before it. So I'd say C. I don't know what you guys think about that. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. I think C is a fine place for that. But the people must vote. No. We are not going to get through this if you guys have to vote. That's all I'm saying. This is one of those where I'm taking over. Okay. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Daron, I will say. The biggest outrage of House of the Dragon Season 2 is the omission of Kermit Tully. Where is Kermit Tully? Streaming platform tier list. Ooh, that's an interesting one. That's a very interesting one, because that one really varies. Oh, wait, I took that differently. I was talking about, actually streaming, in terms of what I'm doing right now, but I think you're talking about, movies and stuff like that, like HBO, for instance. That'd be interesting. Loki's the only thing I liked in Phase 4 besides No Way Home. Also, I do have a stuff and not watched. There's some Marvel stuff I have not watched. I know what happens in them, but I haven't really watched them, so it's can't really rank them. Iron Man started the MCU, so he needs to be an S tier for me. I get why you think that, but I don't think it just being the starting of Marvel makes it S tier. I think it's a good movie, but it's not over the top great or anything. It doesn't exceed, I think, what some of the greater movies of this is. What do you think the next Spider-Man movie will be? I think it'll probably have something to do with the Venom symbiote stuff that's probably been left over in the MCU world. We'll probably get some of that. Maybe we'll get kind of what Spider-Man 3, the original ones with Tobey Maguire, kind of that idea, that kind of plot arc. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what we get. It seems like we're kind of going away from maybe Iron Man, Spider-Man. That's one of the reasons I don't like the Tom Holland Spider-Mans that much, but we'll see. Incredible Hulk is not watched for me. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've watched it. And from my memories of remembering it, it's a very forgettable movie. Not anything great. It's just kind of there. It's kind of what I remember it as. Slept On, it's B. Okay, I like that. I like a solid B. A solid B is solid. Yeah, but here's my thing, PK, is I had another one I was gonna use, but the problem is a lot of those X-Men movies, especially the Wolverine standalone ones, I haven't watched in so long that it's hard to rank them. And I don't know. Voting, this isn't a democracy. This is an Eric dictatorship. That's right. That's right. You don't get any votes around here. Not for this one. Well, this one, there's just too many. I want to get through this in a stream rather quickly. If I did it where it was voting, this would be a 2-part stream. We're not doing that. Incredible Hulk stuff is coming back in the new Captain America film with the leader and Hulk. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that movie so far. It looked good, but I have a lot of questions. I don't know. I'll just have to see how that movie comes out as. I don't know. Edward Norton as the Hulk. I actually think he does do a good job of the Hulk. So I don't think like that's a bad take, saying Edward Norton was better than Mark Ruffalo. We need a Hulk versus Wolverine film. That'd be cool. Is Iron Man House Lannister? Has to be. Starts out being really rich, making weapons and stuff like that. Has to be House Lannister. The attempt on my on my life has left me scarred. If we were doing Revenge of the Sith, it'd be S tier. Do you think the Hulk trilogy was a missed opportunity? It would have been hard to do because then you have another actor in Mark Ruffalo, and I think Hulk is one of those heroes that's better as a like side character or like a side main lead. Like I think Thor Ragnarok, like that, like Bruce Banner, like that Hulk is kind of where I would kind of put that character in a lot. Batman, Iron Man, I 100% agree. A lot of that stuff I have not watched that either, Maz. Captain America would 100% be House Stark. I agree. That is unfortunate. I'm looking forward to the new Venom movie. I will say though, Endgame is C tier. Oh boy, we'll get there when we get there. Did you see the Rings of Power trailer that release day? I have not. I want to make a video on it for the second channel just to like make that channel be alive. But yeah. Oh wait, is this Song by Fire or Marvels? I thought it was so. Song by Fire. If you have questions, I'll answer them while doing the tier list. We're doing a lot of things. We're being very scatterbrained in this one. Yeah, I'll just have to watch the trailer. I don't know about the trailer yet. That's all I know. That's all I don't know. I don't know. Hi, Ghost. How are you? I think Mark Ruffalo captured the spirit of Bruce Banner perfectly in Avengers 1. I agree. I think the best version of Hulk is probably the first Avengers one. All right, so let's move on. I have them mostly in order, but we'll see. All right. Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 to me is definitely a downgrade from the first movie. The villain is just not really that interesting or enjoyable. I can barely remember his name. I think it's Ivan Vanko. And then you also have Hammer. I don't remember his first name. It just kind of feels like we took kind of the same almost plot of the first movie in terms of the villain and then just applied it to a second movie. And then, I don't know, then also the main villain like gets taken down kind of weirdly. It's like, oh, the power of like friendship as they, both do their little beams or whatever. Like them taking out the robots is pretty cool. It's an introduction into Black Widow as well. Like there was just a lot going on in this film, and I think it didn't land as good as I think it could have been, but I think it's a B tier movie. I think it's fine. I think Robert Downey Jr. carries this movie. His charismatic performance of the character of Tony Stark really elevates this movie. But yeah, I think B tier. It's kind of the starting of the Avengers plot, more or less. I think it's just a solid B. Thor 1. This movie gets a lot of hate. And I understand why. Like, if you think about Thor 1, it's really a character study film almost. Because it's really about the idea of the character of Thor, right? He starts off the film, he's very arrogant, he's very, war hungry, and he's someone that's not very wise. He doesn't really deserve the throne of Asgard and all that stuff. And so he gets stripped of all of his powers. So this isn't really even a superhero movie for most of the film, right? Because Thor doesn't even have powers for like at least half of the film. And so when you go into a superhero movie and that just isn't present and there isn't much in the middle of this film that really keeps you entertained, it's hard to have this movie anywhere higher than a B just because of that. I think Loki is a pretty compelling villain. I think he's the best villain of Phase 1 by a long shot. And so I think Loki as a villain holds this film up to me. I love the dynamic between Loki and Thor. And even Loki and Odin, I think, is pretty good. There's some really good acting performances, in my opinion, in this movie. But I think that it could have been executed a bit better. And I actually think Thor's journey in this movie is actually pretty well done. But kind of in like, I think this is a oh, I'm like really tough. It's B or C. It's just in this range. I say B. Let me see what chat's saying. What do you guys think on Thor 1? What do we think on Thor 1? I have not seen the Kraven trailer, by the way. I saw it like it came out, just haven't really touched on it yet. Was that Russian guy mad because he didn't get his bird? That is one of the running jokes in it, but he, more or less, he doesn't like Tony Stark because his dad was, I think, business partners with his dad, so Howard Stark. And then they had a fallout, and then, you know, Howard Stark, his family all gets rich and all that stuff, and then he, you know, his family didn't, and it's very, it's kind of all over the place. My thinking, though, PK, is you got to take it in terms of all of Marvel. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of movies as we get, like, after Phase 3, they're going to be C and D, that I think Iron Man 2 is better than most of the movies I'm going to put in C and D. That's kind of the way I look at it. Does anyone else get the feeling that Marvel might be moving shit to their next level of modern? Oh, man, I'm not going to lie, I feel like we might be getting Legion coming. I don't know, April. Like, I think Marvel's in a weird place because they're on a downward trajectory. Deadpool and Wolverine kind of seem to revive the franchise a bit. We'll see. They're going into Doctor Doom, which is a really big villain in Marvel. One of my favorites because he's the main villain of Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and that game kind of got me into Marvel. I don't love the direction they're going with Doctor Doom, but we'll just have to see what they do. That scene between Odin and Loki when he reveals his parentage was good. Yeah, some of the best acting, I think, of Phase 1. And that's something that Marvel is not exactly known for, like great acting performances, but I think Loki was really good in this movie. Changed my mind. Thor is Stannis. How so? That's a wild one. I don't know about that one. C tier? Okay. Thor is B and Iron Man 2 is C. Okay. I could see a C or maybe a B. Okay. How about a House of the Dragon Smash or Pass? Ooh, that'd be an interesting one. Hi, Ashley. How are you? Hi, Benjamin. How are you? Grease, do you think they are taking Doctor Doom into the storyline of Doctor Doom replacing Doctor Strange? I have no idea, April. I just don't understand why make Doctor Doom evil Stark. It's just really weird. Stannis equals war hungry, doesn't deserve the throne, needs... Okay. Dakota, you're just being wild. Ashley, I need you to, like, put Dakota in his place for me. I am incredibly cold. I have been lost for so long. Well, Benjamin, all you got to do is just pop open Google Maps and find your way home. April, I hope they don't go that way with Doctor Doom's character. I really hope so. Okay, let's do... I'm gonna say we keep Thor and B for now. Captain America. Man, people hate on this movie. I don't get why people dislike this movie. Like, I get it. The Red Skull is not the most interesting villain. He's just I can't say the word on YouTube or else YouTube will smite this stream. But, you know, he's a bad German guy. Not the most interesting villain. I think Captain America, the first one, has some of the best character development. Like, actually, like, between the first, like, 4... I think him and Iron Man are clearly the best developed. I think the issue that this movie contains, there's 2 of them. I talked about one of them already. Red Skull just isn't interesting in this movie. He's just generic bad guy. He's just not that interesting. The second problem with this movie is I think the first half is really good. Like the origin of Captain America, how he becomes a super soldier and the trials he goes through, and you know, because he has such a good heart and all that, being the, you know, the root of why he's able to go through this surgery and become, you know, who he is. I think where this movie suffers is then you get like a montage, and I don't think that montage really works. You get this montage into the end of the film, and I just think that kind of hurt this movie. And so I think I think Captain America 1 is better than these two films, personally. But I do think Iron Man 1 is better than it. Let me put these in order, by the way. This is, I think, the order that I would have these in. This is the order. I think Captain America 1 is an A tier, but it's going to be low A tier. Whereas I think Iron Man is high A tier. That's kind of where I'm at right now. The Avengers, the first one. The first film to really do a team-up movie correctly. I thought everything worked in this film. The themes that were going on there, taking a bunch of people that have very different values and personalities and bringing them together to kind of save the world and all that. Taking everything from, phase 1, bringing all these characters together. I think it worked pretty well. You also have an interesting villain that's already been developed in Thor 1. You have a good villain. I think the story is pretty solid. I think the characters are pretty good in this movie. And yeah, I think it just has to be S tier for me. I think this is the way I'd rank phase 1. I think it's kind of all over the place. I think you got one pretty great movie, you've got one pretty you got a couple of mids, and then you got a couple that are like above average. It's kind of where I'm at. Yes, Dakota, the YouTube overlords. I don't know. They won't like me very much. Depending on how fast we get through it, Ashley, I think it'd be pretty cool if we did a Harry Potter one. I'd be cool with that. Captain America is the first one, is just a basic origin story. Yeah, it is basically an origin story, but pretty much all these are. It kind of follows the same idea of Iron Man 1. Thor is the only origin story that's quite different and unique. The Hulk one is too, but I just don't think it works as well. Yeah, that's another thing. Captain America ends on a really good note as well, I think. I like that, Ashley. Captain America went back to get pegged by Peggy. Oh no. Oh no. Deserves S tier? Yeah, I think the first Avengers does. Move Iron Man 2 down. Okay. I will say, I watched the only one of these films that I did not watch in theaters was the Hulk. That was the only one I did not watch of these first phase. I watched every other one of these movies in the theaters. Great experiences for most of them. So, I don't know. I kind of also think maybe we move down Iron Man 2. For now, nah, we're going to keep it there. If I don't like it as we go in, we'll change it. All right, let's move on, though. Okay, so Iron Man 3. I don't like Iron Man 3. I'm not a big fan of the story. I think it's an interesting way of telling this idea that Tony has PTSD from the events of the Avengers. I think that storyline's quite interesting, but it's never brought up ever again. Really, it's outside of maybe Age of Ultron. They kind of referenced it at the beginning of the film, but it just feels like a lot of the things that happen in this movie don't go anywhere, and even inside of its own self-contained movie, I don't think it's that great. I would say the Hulk, it's in C tier. I don't like Iron Man 3. I think the Mandarin stuff was being hyped up so much, and then it fell completely flat. You took one of the most interesting villains from the Iron Man story and you dumbed him down a ton. It's quite insulting what they did with that character in this movie. I'm going to put him bottom of C. I think this is the worst movie that came out of this first batch of movies. I think this is probably the worst one outside of maybe Hulk 1. And this is also, I think, a really polarizing movie because I see either people really like this movie, it's up here, or people hate this movie and it's down here. I'm kind of one of these people that not a big fan of Iron Man 3. What do you guys think about Iron Man 3? I'm just not it. Don't like it. I think Phase 4 has the best villains. Wait, hold on. You think Phase 4? Hold on. Okay, let's go through some of the Phase 4 stuff we got here. I don't actually know if there's a difference between... Are we still in Phase 4? I don't know. I'm not even caught up with the villains, but... Okay, so Phase 4 begins here. None of the villains are interesting in this movie. The villains are decent. The main villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is not bad. Quantum, let's not even talk about that movie. I think Neymar was heavily underused. Multiverse of Madness was pretty bad. Because Wanda they kind of completely destroyed her character. Shang-Chi was okay. No Way Home was pretty, had a pretty good villain. Because it just, brought back the original Green Goblin. So that was pretty cool. Gore the God Killer was an interesting villain, but we didn't see enough of him. So, he ended up not being that great. The Marvels was just terrible in general. I think this is the Eternals. I don't even know what this is. Just put it in there. I don't even know. The Captain America show, no. Hawkeye show, definitely not. I haven't watched Loki season 2. And then Loki season 1, I thought was pretty okay. WandaVision was kind of it was pretty okay. Didn't watch Miss Marvel. She-Hulk, sorry. Didn't watch either, but from what I know of the show, D. But I don't know. I disagree with that. I don't think there's that many interesting villains in Phase 4 at all, but I don't know. I don't like it either. Yeah, Ashley, we're always on the same wavelength though, so I might be the only person that thinks 3 is far better than 2. I just find Iron Man 2 to be more entertaining than Iron Man 3 is. I don't find much of Iron Man 3 to be interesting. I know that people like it, it's using, Iron Man having to be, or Tony Stark having to be resourceful and all that stuff, but I just think that Iron Man 2 is just more interesting to watch. Didn't watch Eternals? No. A lot of the movies in Phase 4, I would more or less, unless I was already interested in the characters in the movies, I would basically just look at how the ratings were and see if they were good or not, and then that would depend if I watched them. And then if they got kind of bad ratings, then I would just watch spoiler reviews them and just go, oh, okay. Black Panther is S tier. I'm not that high on Black Panther. The first Black Panther, I think the end fight is kind of it just doesn't look that good in my opinion. But I think Black Panther, when we do get there, I think it's a solid B, A tier. I'm kind of in between. I think it's better than what we have in B right now. But I also don't think it's as good as the stuff we have in A. So I think it'd be a B plus candidate. But I'll probably end up putting it in B, I think, or A. I'll probably put it in A. Love and Thunder. Thor: The Dark World. There's not really much anything good in this movie. Whereas Thor 1, I can defend. I thought the actual story was pretty interesting. Thor: The Dark World's not very good. I think Thor: The Dark World is the first bad Marvel movie. This movie, the villain, I couldn't tell you the name. I know it's the Dark Elves or whatever. They're not interesting in this movie. The only interesting segment of the entire movie that I can remember is when Loki has his quote-unquote fake death. That's a pretty emotional scene and all that. But outside of that, the movie's pretty bad. I mean, I remember, so the last time I watched this movie is when I was doing a MCU rewatch, going through it when all the movies were released, and it was with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I remember getting to this movie and just man, I'm sleeping through this one. This is not a good one. This is a bad one. That's all I'm going to say. This is a bad one. Okay. So, moving on. If Captain America Winter Soldier. What can I say? This is an S tier movie. The fight choreography in this movie is fantastic. The actual character work of Captain America in this movie. I'm going to leave it there for now. I would say I like the Avengers more maybe on nostalgia than I do the Captain America movie, but the journey that Captain America goes on, where you have somebody who kind of is this prototypical soldier working for the government, and how does that all get twisted, right? It's where he kind of almost shifts his beliefs, right? This is the movie that basically establishes what's going to happen in Civil War. It's what's going to happen later on as Marvel goes down. And I love everything this does for the character of Steve Rogers. It's the introduction of Bucky back into kind of the MCU as he seemed to be dead. I think a pretty good movie all in all. I like this movie. I really like Captain America, so maybe that's some of that bias as well. But yep. Guardian of the Galaxy 1. You know what's weird about Guardians of the Galaxy 1? It's a really good movie. I'd probably put it like here. I'd probably put it in A tier right behind Iron Man 1. It's weird because Guardians of the Galaxy, in a lot of reasons, is some of the problems I have with Marvel. Because after this movie, a lot of that Marvel humor that came out of this movie then started to go into the other movies. And you don't notice it right away because a lot of the movies are still really good, or the comedy is actually good. You don't really notice it until you start getting to more movies where you have not like well-known characters. They're not the main like heroes of the entire universe. And you just look at those the Marvel humor that eventually plagues this like franchise later on. A lot of it comes from Guardians of the Galaxy, even though this is a great movie. But Guardians of the Galaxy, great team up movie. You're taking all these like characters that nobody really knows. It was a hilarious movie. The story is pretty good. Kind of sets up some of the stuff going into, you know, the later stages of Phase 3. Pretty good movie. Avengers: Age of Ultron. I would put Avengers: Age of Ultron in A. It's definitely not as good as Avengers 1. I think Ultron is not as good of a villain as like Loki, for instance. I don't think he's the worst villain in the world, but it's just basically comes down to kill a robot. This robot just doesn't like humans and trying to kill everybody. So that's not great. What I do like in this movie is how it kind of brings up some tension between, for instance, Tony and Steve. In this movie, we kind of see some of their ideology starting to clash, kind of painting, you know, what's going to happen in Civil War, which only happens 2 movies after this. A lot of good like building. It's like a middle of the road Avengers movie because it's like it has its own self-contained story, but it's also trying to build up the conflicts that are going to happen in the next phase, the big phase of Marvel. So, like, I think it has problems in that regard, the villain, but I still think very entertaining movie. I think there's a lot of funny moments in this movie, kind of underrated in that aspect of it. But it definitely does not get to like that S tier range, but yeah. We are ranking some MCU movies, Chrissy, unless you do have questions that are Song of Ice and Fire that you want me to answer. I only remember Frigga's funeral and Talk with Loki. Yeah, those are all good too. Those are good. Now that I remember that, like, yeah, that's good as well. A lot of people saying S for Winter Soldier. We love that. We love that. You didn't see Winter Soldier or Guardians 1 in theaters. That is a shame. That is a shame. Love just seeing the life of the Avengers and how the job is like. Yeah, one thing that this movie tried to do, because Hawkeye was not really developed in Phase 1 at all. Even in the Avengers movie, he's not even part of it for like half of it. And so I think Phase 2 started to kind of unravel that, like give more to the character of Hawkeye. If he's going to be an Avenger, he actually needs to have some sort of like character arc. And I think this movie does a good job of that. But yeah. Love the one party scene. Yes. We also get the little foreshadowing of Captain America lifting the hammer. Like, that's what I talk about. This movie has a lot of foreshadowing and a lot of building for the rest of the like universe. But as an actual movie, it's not the best, I don't think. Do you think George will have a big announcement at the convention he's going to in a week or two? I think there could be a surprise book announcement. Yeah, I mean, possibly. I think we could maybe see something. I don't think we're going to get Winds of Winter, but I think we could maybe see something. I'm very interested to see if we're going to get George reacting to House of the Dragon Season 2's like conclusion. Like, he hasn't put anything out about it yet, and I'm curious to see if we're going to get that. But, yeah. Not a big fan of Hawkeye, Uncle, really. I actually really like Hawkeye, but I don't like the show. I don't like his Hawkeye show. But, yeah. April, I'm not like, I don't know the whole Tony Stark Doctor Doom plotline. I don't even know what they're trying to do from the comics. You're asking the wrong person on that one. Green Arrow, Hawkeye. I watched the Green Arrow show for a while. I just kind of got bored of it because it kind of gets repetitive. Like, and that's the problem with all superhero shows. It's like it has the same like episode every single time. Like not a lot changes until you get to like the finale, right? Like this is basically how an episode goes. Okay, there's a villain that is now into the episode. Well, our hero tries to fight the villain, but he fails. Okay, then we now have to figure out how to beat that villain. And then the character finally figures out how to beat that villain and they get defeated at the very end. That's basically Flash in a nutshell. But yeah, Ant-Man 1. I think Ant-Man 1 was a fine or like self-centered story. It wasn't really that major in terms of the grand scheme of things, but I think it was like a fun, mid movie. I don't think it was trying to be an SRA. I just think it was supposed to be, Paul Rudd's in it, get a nice little laugh in there. It's a feel-good kind of movie. The villain's not anything crazy. He feels like an Iron Man ripoff type of villain. Does not really have any type of personality or anything that like makes him different than any other Marvel villain. But yeah, I think it's a fine film. Civil War. I love Civil War. I really like Civil War. I'd put Civil War in S tier as well. I think Civil War is great because it takes the ideologies of two different, characters that started off on like different paths, right? If you think about Iron Man or Tony Stark, he went from, okay, the government should not have my suit. That's like a specific plot line in his trilogy. And so he takes this basically 180, right? So now he's thinking about, okay, well, maybe we aren't the right people to be making these decisions on what we do and how that affects people. And that's made clear in Age of Ultron. And then in this movie, then you take Captain America, who's the opposite, right? He started with working in the government, taking orders and being a soldier. And by this movie, he's the opposite, right? He feels like the government shouldn't have power off of that. And you can understand where both sides are coming from because of their experiences. One thing I really like about this movie is it kind of feels, it's very weird to compare this to George R. R. Martin, but it feels like these characters are defined by the experiences they have. And so this is just a breakup of Marvel, more or less, or the breakup of our main two characters. And I think it was a pretty well done movie. I think Baron Zemo, or I think that's his name, he's a good villain. He's better than I say most average villains are, but he doesn't really have like much of a conclusion in this film, really. And so I don't know. I think Winter Soldier's, I don't even know. I don't know. I think these two are interchangeable, but I could definitely see people having Civil War above these films. Is that a hot take? Like, I don't know how people like look at Civil War. Is that a hot take to say it's probably one of the better ones? We also get introduced to Black Panther, which is sick in this movie. I thought Black Panther is great. As a shout out to Chadwick, or the actor that plays Black Panther. Shout out to him. And we do get Spider-Man. Even though I'm not a big fan of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, he is also introduced in this movie as well. I think Iron Man was a great villain for this movie. Well, see, the thing is, right? Iron Man's not really supposed to be the villain, but like he is kind of. Like you understand why he's doing things. I think that's what makes this so interesting about this. Civil War, you mean Avengers 3? Yes, it was basically Avengers 3, but yes. Get a rip in the chat for Chadwick. Fantastic actor. You don't like Tom Holland Spider-Man? No, I'm just not a fan of the character. I'm not a fan of like the disciple of Iron Man or whatever you want to call him. And I'm not like the biggest fan of Tom Holland's like humor for Spider-Man. Now that part of it comes down to the direction of Marvel and all that stuff, and I don't know, right? Like I am someone that I think the best Spider-Man, like in totality with also their movies, it's not Tom Holland's. It's just not. It's the original Spider-Man movies. I think Tobey does the best job of being both Peter and Spider-Man. I think Andrew Garfield is my favorite, though, because I think he is someone that has the most like personal and interesting story of the three. So, I don't know. Like, I personally have Tom Holland as the third best Spider-Man. If you want to put Miles Morales in there from the animated movies, I'd probably put Tom Holland last. So, yeah. Yeah, see, Ashley, we're just connected. We're just connected on this. Is it just me, or was Civil War my favorite movie with Black Panther? I think it's the best movie that Black Panther is in. Like, he's a pretty defined character arc. I actually like him in this movie a lot, even though he's not in it like a ton. Fair enough, Chrissy. Fair enough. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man lets people die to make some jokes. He does not feel like Spider-Man. What do you mean by he lets people die? Like, the part of Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies that I love is just him and Gwen. Like, those actors, and of course they were dating, so it helped, but their chemistry is fantastic. The way that the entire, like, two movies, and villains are not that great in either one of those movies. And they're not, like, perfect movies. They're not great movies. I think they're good. I think they're fine. Like, if I was going to put them on here, I'd put them in B, probably. But the way that it has such a personal, like, effect on the character of, like, Peter Parker, right? Where he has to basically try and give up, dating this woman that he really likes, he loves, and how everyone close to him gets hurt because of proximity around them. I think, like, his character and Gwen's character in those movies, they are just fantastic. But no, like, I agree, like, Ghost, I think objectively, I think Tobey is the best Spider-Man. He's the best, like, mix of every element of Spider-Man while having, like, the best movies. I think Garfield, to me, is my personal favorite because I like how personal his story is. There is a fly that is, like, continuously trying to fly in my face, and it's getting annoying. All right, moving on. Also, I'm not sure which Doctor Strange is actually the original one. Is it this one or this one? I can't even tell. I actually think it's this one, so I'm going to say it's this one. I think the first Doctor Strange movie is, like, B. I just personally don't love Doctor Strange as a character. I think Doctor Strange as an entity creates a lot of plot holes. And that, I think, really pops up in No Way Home when we get there. But I think Doctor Strange is kind of like, he's okay. I think he's just okay. Not a huge fan. But B tier is fine. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, to me, is also B. I think it's just a worse version of Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I would put it probably at the top because I cared about this movie and I liked this movie and it was more enjoyable than all the rest of the movies in B. But wasn't a huge fan. I thought it was just kind of more of a downgrade of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Spider-Man Homecoming. Again, not a fan of Tom Holland's Spider-Man that much. I also don't really like the Iron Man plotline built into the Spider-Man story. So, again, I think this is kind of like B tier. I'll put it like here because I don't think it's like down here or anything. But I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan. I'm not the biggest fan. I think the Vulture villain in this movie, though, was pretty good. So that's a plus for this movie. But yeah, I think there's just better movies. Thor Ragnarok. I think this is Thor's best standalone movie. It is the perfect combination of it had great character growth between all of the characters. Loki, Thor, Valkyrie, Hulk. All those were done really, really well. I think with the one department I would say that holds this back, I don't think there's really like any compelling villains in this movie. So there's that. But I do think outside of that, I'd say like the character development's great. I think it's a fun movie to watch. It's really visually pleasing to look at. Just a really good movie. This is a much better version of what we eventually see with Love and Thunder, which tried to do the same humor, but it fell really flat, and also the characters were just not good either. This movie knew how to have suspense, use your emotional moments, while not ruining it with comedy, but also having comedy in the movie. So I think Thor Ragnarok, solid A movie. The first Black Panther. I would put it low A, like around this area. I think the CGI in this movie wasn't the best, but I think the actual story, like the villain and even, you know, Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther, I think the journeys those characters go on hold this movie up. I think there's some great acting performances in this movie. I think, again, visually, the CGI in this movie wasn't great, especially in kind of the last like battle. So kind of just gets held down for me a little bit. Before we get to the big ones, let's go back to chat. Anything chat is talking about here? Guardians 2 is mid. I kind of agree. Love Doctor Strange. I'm glad you do. Just was never kind of a fan. Yondu's death, yes, definitely was a little heart jerker, but still, to me, it was just B tier. Doctor Strange got his visions from Preston Jacobs' version of Bran. Yes, agreed. Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones. Breaking Bad is more consistently good throughout the entire show, so I don't fault anyone that has that opinion. I do think, though, if you're talking about the heights of both the shows, Game of Thrones is better in terms of heights. Like, Game of Thrones at its peak is better than Breaking Bad at its peak. Wow, we got a lot of Doctor Strange fans in here. Okay. Ooh, Thor 3 is trash. Ruckus, I don't hear that take a lot. I personally like the humor in this movie, but I can see why some people didn't. Come on, Michael B. Jordan's pecs. Ashley, I'm going to need you to hold it together. Okay, I'm going to need you to hold it together. I agree, PK. I think that was a great scene in Black Panther. Chadwick's tush. Oh my God, Ashley, you gotta calm down. You gotta get calmed down. You can't come to the streams this thirsty right now. What's going on? Doctor April, I don't know why I like that, but Doctor Strange figured it out, yo. Ashley is down bad. I agree. Ashley seems down bad right now. They made Thor into a joke. See, I think they make him into a joke in Thor 4. Like, he still has like an essence of like the serious Thor. Like, I think this is the perfect blend between the like Thor in the future, like just the humor Thor, and like the old Thor. I think this is the perfect mix of it. Ashley, drink some water. Keep it in your pants. Everybody, we got to keep it in our pants. Remember that. No tears. Ashley, you know what? That is a good scene. I agree. Avengers Infinity War. I don't know if this is a hot take, but this is the best. This is the best Marvel movie. Yeah, it's not even close. I think this movie basically being Thanos's like hero movie almost, like, because this is him succeeding. He beats the Avengers. It perfectly ties in, I think, everything that's been set up throughout all of Marvel. Just a compelling movie in terms of all the different storylines, how they're able to take so many different characters and combine them all for kind of the end is really well done. So many goosebump moments, so many like just great moments. Thor when he gets to Wakanda, highlight moment. Thanos with Iron Man's pretty cool. The one thing I will say about this movie that I've never understood, like I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. Iron Man's whole plan is, okay, let's go to Thanos' home world and try to surprise attack him. But his plan originally is just him, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man are going to somehow kill Thanos. I mean, yes, they are three of the most, powerful, competent beings in Marvel, right? But you could have just gone all the way back to Earth, which you knew Thanos was going to attack because you have the stones on Earth. Why wouldn't you just go back, meet up with the gang, and then you all fight Thanos? I don't know. I think that's a little bit of a nitpick because Tony Stark makes a lot of bad decisions in my opinion, but I don't know. Make a T tier T for Thanos? Yeah. I mean, Ashley is fantastic thinking about abs and butts and whatever else is going on. Thor Wakanda entrance was peak, and also Thanos walking with Gamora was peak. Agreed. Well, it wasn't great when, when Gamora gets, thrown off the peak, but, Thanos do be a thick one. I have Thanos in Fortnite, guys, so I rep the thick Thanos. That's all I gotta say. I'm trying to build up my villains right now in Fortnite, right? I got Darth Maul, I've got Thanos, I've got Magneto, I've got, who else do I got? I got the clones, and you can say they were bad guys. They killed a lot of people. I'm just saying. They kill a lot. I know the clones are viewed as the good guys. They're not the good guys. Especially the Coruscant Guard clones. I got some other villains. I just can't think of them. But, yeah. You only get the Ant-Man and Thanos scene. Oh, God. Oh, God. Love the Gamora scene? Yes. There were definitely some good moments in there. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Just a kind of a worse version of the first Ant-Man. Like, I don't even know. Like, this movie's funny. It's like the same idea of, like, the first Ant-Man. I think the first Ant-Man works better as a coherent story. I'm going to say, like, C tier. I don't think it was that great. Captain Marvel. This character sucks. The story wasn't very good. This character's not interesting. I don't even know what to say about this character. Like, Brie Larson's performance of this character was not good. What they gave the character to do in the movie, not very good. I do not enjoy this character. Anything that this character is involved in, let's just get this out of the way right now. Right down and then there. Yeah, don't even get me started with this. Okay, Endgame. Oh, this is the one. This is the one that everybody's so controversial on. I think so many people try to be, like, edgy, okay? They're like, oh, Endgame's so bad because of the plot. Shut up. Just shut up. Not actually shut up. If you have that opinion, that is a valid opinion. But I put Endgame at the top of A. I don't think it's S tier. Because I think time travel is just something that's just weird. I don't know how... Time travel has so many, like, issues with it. I don't love the way that they did that in this movie. But you can't deny, okay, for years and years and years, all these things being built up to this moment. This is the climax of Marvel. And some of this stuff just works. Some of it is just fan service, and I know it, but I give this movie a pass because this is what it's all been leading to. You can't deny Captain America saying Avengers Assemble. Captain America, having Mjolnir. The fight between our main three and Thanos. Iron Man and his dad. Captain America and Peggy. Captain America giving his shield to the Falcon. And there's just so much like Black Widow's death. There's just so many things in this movie that are so awesome. It's just the plot kind of holds it back a little bit, and Thanos is just not as interesting in this movie. I think that holds it back to A. I realize there's a lot of, like, plot issues, but no, guys, no. No. Captain Marvel sucks. Captain Marvel's bad. I don't care. It is bad. Endgame is a bit overrated, but still, yeah, like, I don't think it's the best Marvel film, but I think it's, like, top 10. It's got to be top 10. Yeah, Iron Man dies. Didn't even mention that one. I won't lie though. See, as someone that's not I don't like Iron Man. I like the character of Iron Man. I think he's really well written. I just don't like Tony. Like, I am the opposite type of person as someone like Tony, and he just makes so many stupid decisions throughout the entirety of Marvel that I'm like, man, sad when he goes. But I was way more sad that Black Widow died. I'm just saying. I was way, like, I remember being like, damn, they actually killed Black Widow. That's sad. Especially because this is a perfect time to introduce it. They made a Black Widow film directly after. What is wrong with you? This movie's bad too. Just because I like Thor and Loki, I'm putting Black Widow below it. This movie just doesn't make sense. Why is it even being made? Black Widow's dead. I don't care about this. This movie should have been made, and also, it's not even a good movie if you can take out of the context of this. But this movie should have been made like in phase 2. This movie's bad. This movie's bad. Just yeah, it's right there. Spider-Man: Far From Home. This movie's even worse than the first Spider-Man movie. I'm gonna put it bottom of B because I feel nice. It has, in my opinion, the whole. Okay, we're still dealing with Iron Man, and everything revolves around Iron Man, and as to what the villain is introduced in, and all about some stupid glasses, and it's like I just don't care. Like, I don't know. It's B tier, but I don't know. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I liked this movie. I thought it was really well done. Really good conclusion to the Guardians of the Galaxy films. I would say it's like right behind the first one. I think the first one still is better. Quantumania, we don't talk about that film. That film was just bad in terms of story, characters. Everything was bad in this movie. Wakanda Forever. I didn't like the way they did the villain in this movie. I don't know. I think it's like right there somewhere. Multiverse of Madness shouldn't exist. Shang-Chi. Unfortunately, it's not a movie I care about that much, but I do think it was solid. Spider-Man: No Way Home. You guys are gonna love this placement. B. Wait, no. Right there. Spider-Man: No Way Home is nostalgia bait. The plot doesn't work. Nothing about this film works in terms of the plot. Yeah, it's just nostalgia. This is all this movie is. It's just nostalgia. That's it. It's a fun nostalgia trip. That's all it is. Okay? If you take 2 seconds to think about how this movie functions, you go, wait a minute, none of this makes sense. Why did Peter Parker have Doctor Strange brainwash the world when he could have talked to one person and maybe the whole... It's just a dumb movie. This movie, Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't even know where to put it. I honestly think it's... See, the villain I like, so like maybe it's... I don't even know. It's just here. It's just bad. Captain of the Winter. I mean, this is pretty the whole plot line's pretty weak. The villains are kind of weak. The message that this movie is trying to tell you is sometimes weird at times. Like, these people are terrorists, but yet we're saying that they're kind of okay. We should feel bad for them or something. There. Hawkeye show. Like, I don't even know. Loki season 1. I did like Loki season 1. Let's say here. And then WandaVision. Didn't like what they did with Wanda's character. Plot didn't really make a lot of sense, but I'm going to put it in C. This is my official ranking. Now, you guys are going to sit here and look at it while I go to the bathroom. I've been kind of holding it for a little while. So, tell me what you think about this list for the Marvel movies. Also, if I was doing Deadpool and the Wolverine movie, it'd probably be top of A. Maybe it'd be like in here somewhere. But yeah, I'll be back. Watch the Chair Boys. Guys enjoy the chair? The chair does do good commentary, I've found. What's chat saying here? What's chat saying? Okay, here we go. Mysterio was dope? Nah. Iron Boy Jr. equals Tom Holland Spider-Man. Yep. Not a big fan. No Way Home, top of A? Nah. Plot doesn't make any sense. If you think about it, okay, let's just go back to No Way Home for a second. If you have a spell that can make people forget, why the fuck would you not do a Thanos doesn't remember the stones exist? Hey, Doctor Strange, moron, instead of doing circles, why don't you just make Thanos forget? No Way Home, only reason No Way Home is in B, the only reason is because it's an entertaining movie and some of the nostalgia was cool. But the logic of this film was horrible. It is absolutely horrible. Also, I agree with PK. Some of the character development for Tom Holland was pretty good. Right? Like, some of it was pretty good. So, I don't know. Nah. I mean, personally, I watched the Hawkeye show and I was just pretty much bored the whole time. I don't know. Good rankings? Okay. Edging to Stephen Hawking. That's wild. That is wild. That is wild. Okay. PK. The entire idea of the movie was, how do we get the Spider-Mans and all these old villains back? That was the entire plot of the movie, right? Okay, so you have that idea. How do you get that idea? They basically tried to reverse engineer the movie. And so it happens because people know who Spider-Man is, so Peter Parker can't get into college. Really? He didn't even talk to anybody to see if he could get into the college to begin with. And then Doctor Strange just goes along with it. Like either Doctor, this is what you have to process. Either Doctor Strange is an absolute moron, absolute idiot, or the Tom Holland is an absolute idiot. So maybe they're both idiots. It just doesn't function. No. At least the first movie, it makes sense, and I like the development for the character of Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and also like the villain was pretty interesting. But like, nah, this doesn't function. Like, if you go into this movie and you turn your brain off and you're like, wait a minute, okay, let's just not think about how all these things happened, okay? And then we get to all this like nostalgia stuff, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, it is okay, this is how I look at the Deadpool and X-Men movie, right? Where it did all this stuff too. It did a lot of nostalgia stuff, but at least their plot made sense. Their nostalgia felt earned. It felt like, okay, I can see how this all ended up happening. Whereas No Way Home just is like, fuck it. We'll just do some revenge. We'll do some random spell that doesn't make any sense, that breaks the entire continuity of anything that's ever happened in Marvel. And then let's just throw in the Spider-Man stuff. Like, no. But yeah. Okay, so we got some time. Let's do what Ashley wanted me to do. Okay, so we're going to have to let me go back to the other screen so I can find a Harry Potter tier list. Now, I want to do books and movies. I don't want it to just be the movies. I want it to be books and movies. So let me see if I can find something here. Let me see if I can cook, guys. Let me cook up a little bit. Harry Potter books. Okay. Search. Why does tier list maker site suck? All books and movies. This'll work. Here we go. Ooh, I don't know these These covers do not look good. What are these covers? Oh, we're not using this one. This one looks ghetto. I don't like that. That don't look right. That don't look right. Harry Potter books and movies. Is this all of them? I don't think this is all of them. There it goes. Okay. All right. Let me switch. Let me switch the thing. A E E Type C, please. Thank you. All right, gamers. Here we go. We're gonna do little Harry Potter time. We're gonna indulge Ashley, because if I don't do this, then she'll cyberbully me. So here we go. Here we go. Batman does have the best villains. We're trying to name your chair. What do you mean you're trying to name my chair? I don't know. All right, so here we go. Here we go. Harry Potter, and I don't know what the official name for this is. Is it Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone? I know it's two different ones, but which one is it? I don't know. Either way, I think the first film and the first book pretty much stay exactly the same. I think A tier, right? It's a good foundation for the story. It's got a lot of nostalgia when you go back and read it. It's your introduction in there. It's a nice gives you a nice warm feeling when you read it and or watch it. They're pretty much exact copies. There's not too many liberties taken in the movie over the book. I think it's a pretty good adaptation. The second movie, the second book. I think they're both C. I just don't think the pacing's great in this book specifically, in this movie. It still has that warm feeling of the first movie / book, but it's a weird transition where you're still in the child kind of feeling of Harry Potter. The third book and the third movie is going to kind of transition into more of the adult version, I guess, of Harry Potter. And so I love the basilisk creature, but overall, it just doesn't have the most interesting plot in my opinion. I don't know. B tier. So film B, book A. It's Philosopher in the UK, Sorcerers in USA. Okay. I'm not a Harry Potter guy, but I'll still hang out. Yeah, you're always down to hang, Dakota. Always down. The movies are not the books. I know that. Don't get me wrong. I know that. But I think in the first two, they're both pretty similar. They're both around the same. we're not going to really deviate until we get to the fourth book. But okay. So, when we get to Prisoner of Azkaban, I think Prisoner of Azkaban is debatably the best movie of the franchise. But I also think the book is also debatably one of the best. I think both of these are pretty good adaptation. I think the movie does a great job adapting the source material. You get the same kind of vibe that you get book to show. I thought the transition to more of an adult version of Harry Potter, where it's a lot more darker. The colors go from kind of maybe a warmer palette in the first kind of two movies. It feels more like Christmas type movies, more your childhood nostalgia movies. And then the third movie takes that away. You kind of feel the darkness, and when you feel the Dementors, it's kind of more eerie. The whole movie is just eerie. You get more deeper emotions where Harry Potter straight up wants to kill Sirius because he believes he is the one that basically sold out his parents and all that stuff. And the twist that happens in the middle of this movie, and then we go all the way back. The time stuff going to be a little interesting because it's a major plot hole, and that's why eventually Rowling kind of undoes that. But yeah. But this is where we start to deviate. Goblet of Fire, I don't think is that great of a film. I think there's a lot of things in the movie that they poorly adapted from the book. I think that it's actually extremely disappointing in terms of the way Goblet of Fire, in my opinion, is probably... By the way, these aren't in order. I'm just going to put them in a tier right now because even like myself, I'm not sure where I'd actually place them all, but I think the book is one of the best paced. It's probably the best paced book, given I think it's one of the largest. I think Order of the Phoenix is the largest, but in terms of having these trials, right, and the way Harry has to prepare for them and eventually trying to overcome them, and that all leading then to the big reveal of Voldemort coming back and all of this being for nothing, really. It's a really good movie or a really good book. The movie does not do such a good job. I also think kind of the way that they made Voldemort is quite interesting, given that in the book, like, Voldemort is more like serpent-like than actually human. Like, they tried to do like a middle of the ground version of it, and I also think Voldemort's voice is kind of weird in the film. So this was kind of the introduction to Voldemort for the movies anyway, and I don't really think they hit the mark with the design comparatively to the book. So I think personally, Goblet of Fire is probably the worst movie of the Harry Potter series. But yeah. Next, Order of the Phoenix. I think Order of the Phoenix, movie-wise, is probably my favorite. I think that this movie adapts Order of the Phoenix perfectly. In terms of, it cuts out all the fluff of Order of the Phoenix. It adaptates the main messages, the main themes from the book perfectly. Because this is a part of Harry's journey where he's so conflicted of who he is as a person. He seems angry all the time. People are not, talking to him. Dolores Umbridge is a fantastic villain, especially in the movie. It's a really great growth movie and or book for Harry. But the problem with the book is there's just so much time where there's just not much going on. Like, it's just them doing a test or studying for a test or, trying to learn how to apparate, or so much of that stuff, or like his relationship with like Cho and how that just doesn't go well. And there's not a lot of, the book just, I think this was a really big learning point for Rowling, because in the next book, it's really cut down and the pacing is much better. But the Order of the Phoenix book, yeah, not as great. Half-Blood Prince. I think the movie is B tier. I think they really missed with Voldemort's backstory. That is sorely missing from this film. And with that being missing, you miss a lot of the core part of the book. The book is paced really well because it's built upon all these different visions that happens every so often in the book. It's that moment where you're going into the next part of the book. And you get them layered all throughout the book, which is great. In the movie, that isn't really the case, and I also think that they didn't handle some of the love stuff in this book that great. I think the comedy is actually pretty solid in this movie, but not a fan on that terms of it. Now, the book, on the other hand, for all the reasons I said and the things that lacked here, I think the book is really good. I really like the origin of Voldemort, the kind of the backstory, Harry's relationship with Dumbledore. Its ending is fantastic. That's one thing that this movie also has going for it. Its ending's pretty good as well. I think not having Dumbledore's funeral, another kind of mark on this movie. But I think in terms of the book, really good. Let's do Deathly Hallows the book first. Deathly Hallows the book, I think, is A tier. I think the first half of this book can be a little bit to get through. I think there's some downtime, here and there. I think the conclusion and the finale, once you get to kind of the second half of the book, really picks up. But I don't think it has some of the natural pacing that I think the books above it do, where I think they're all perfectly paced throughout the entire book. There is no slow moment. There's always natural points of breakup where you have a peak and then you come back down and then you start building up to the next peak. I don't think that this book does as good of a job as these books above it do. I think it's a pretty good conclusion. Deathly Hallows Part 1 suffers from, it has to adapt the first half of Deathly Hallows, and I don't think the first half of Deathly Hallows is as interesting as it could be, and especially in the film. I think the film, it's not as good as it is in the book in the first half either. So I think it's just a B tier, middle of the road. And I think Deathly Hallows the movie. I do think the conclusion to the series is pretty darn good. I'm gonna give it S tier, but I'm like in between S and A. But I think it's a really good conclusion to the story. But yeah, this is my tier list. Ashley, what are your thoughts on my tier list? What are my thoughts? S for book and movie for Azkaban. I agree. Ashley, you have to ask Greece since my recommendation is getting door. What was your recommendation, Dakota? What's your recommendation? Yeah, April, I was not like part of that. Like I didn't wait for when books were released, but I know I've said this multiple times on stream, but I have the last Harry Potter book, Deathly Hallows, from the night it came out for my aunt. Like it's signed in there from when it like the midnight when it came out. That's always really cool. You gotta respect the effort of Peter Pettigrew living as a rat for years, also sleeping in like the same bed with another like young boy, kind of sus. You know, not to mention, you know, Peter Pettigrew has a ton of crimes, but one of them is also like basically pedophilia. So, you know, that's an interesting one. S movie, B book for order. See, what are the things to me is my least favorite book. I just think so much about the movie just does such a better job of doing things. Like the battle at the Ministry is so much better in the movie. It feels more compact. We keep our group together. The tension's at an all-time high. Whereas like the book, I think it struggles because you have them going throughout, you know, the department, and it's like, oh, they go to a room of doors. They just randomly guess what door they go through, and then it's them eventually all this getting separated and having their own individual stuff going on. And it just kind of like, I feel like it slows down some of the tension. And also I think having the group together in this last final fight, I think works so much better because it's been what they've been preparing for, right? Training to do, you know, Dumbledore's army. I think them working as like a team works so much better in the movie instead of what they do in the book. And so, I don't know. I also think even like Voldemort like possessing Harry more or less, I guess that's how it goes. That is so much better in the movie as well, right? Because his friends are actually present to help get him out of that. I think the movie just does so much better than the book does. The world still needs book signing tours. April, I agree. A movie, a book for Half-Blood Prince. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more like harsh on Half-Blood Prince the movie because I think it just did not really hit the heights. I think that the book did. Yes, Dakota. There has to be. There has to be. These young wizards, they get no freedom. That's all I'm saying. Deathly Hallows book is S. Okay. I definitely can get behind that, right? I don't have any problems if you put Deathly Hallows in S. Part 1 is B. I agree, Chrissy. I agree. And then part 2 is S. Yeah, I agree. Ashley gives a stamp of approval. Okay. A vote on your chair's name. So he wants your chair to be named Gerald Westerling. Well, the problem is if I was going to name it that, my chair would never be here because he just doesn't exist anymore. So maybe. Oh yeah, her and my cousin used to do that stuff all the time. Like they would go to the Barnes & Noble, wait for books to come out and all that. I hope if Winds of Winter gets released, they do something similar to that. Like it's, you know, oh, it releases at midnight type thing. That'd be really cool. Because I talk about this a lot too. I would definitely like do a live stream with you guys on my phone while I just waited to get the book. That'd be really cool. Not gonna lie, Peter Pettigrew does have that look. I agree, Dakota. I agree. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed kind of a random stream. Wasn't anything crazy, but I hope you all enjoyed.